Yesterday, right-wing media started, and then some black media ran with, a headline claiming the Biden administration is handing out free crack pipes to drug addicts to achieve racial equity. I mean, that's definitely clickable, and it was quickly a trending topic, first reported by the Washington Free Beacon, then picked up by Fox News, Newsweek, even the Shade Room. Black Enterprise ran with it also, but quickly snatched the story down. And here's why. Because it's wrong. The $30 million harm reduction grant is an initiative by the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, in the technical language of the grant, HHS included a reference to how reducing drug-related offenses and deaths would connect to Biden's racial equity goals. That's the whole point. Specifically, on page 12 of the 75-page grant, it reads, the behavioral health disparity impact statement is in alignment with the expectations related to President Biden's executive order advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's the only mention of racial equity in all 75 pages. But many news outlets took that and ran with the specific right-wing narrative without doing their homework. A, that basically means that help will be granted to anyone, regardless of race, religion, or socioeconomic status, that American dream thing. And B, HHS said today, no federal money will be used to put pipes in safe smoking kits. Joining me now is BNC political contributor Ameshia Cross to help us understand how we got to this conversation today. Ameshia, misinformation is a thing. What do you know, what do we know about how misinformation particularly targets Black people?
Absolutely, and I'm thankful that you're having this conversation tonight, Nayyera. The issue that we're dealing with is that the Republican Party has, by and large, known for quite some time that they could target specific fake news, specific misinformation towards Black audiences, and they've done it in large part to diminish Black turnout and Black support of Democrats, and they're doing it right now at hyperspeed with Joe Biden. What we've seen here is, as you stated in your opening, a very small piece of a extremely long document taken completely out of context. We know that harm reduction strategies work first and foremost. They are one of the top priorities when it comes to reducing overdoses, when it comes to making communities safe, when it comes to getting families and communities back on track after someone has suffered from an addiction problem. And that has by and large been the case for decades now. Let it be known that America has the largest amount of overdose deaths of any nation in the world. We have to be very clear about what we're facing here. And what Republicans did was racialize what was a non-racialized funding stream, particularly dedicated to addressing the overdose crisis, the addiction crisis we have in America.
What I find really interesting about some of what Senator Marco Rubio was saying, some of what we were hearing on Fox News, is about crack pipes, right? Because they didn't talk about, say, meth overdoses or opioid overdoses, issues we know are predominantly white people drug problems and get a lot of attention from those media outlets. So why did they focus specifically on taking this grant and connecting it to crack?
Because the race game is a game that Republicans will never stop playing. It's like Vegas 24/7. They keep cashing in those slots and they keep winning on it. They want to delegitimize African-American communities, African-American families, and showcase brokenness. And what the images of crack pipes does for Americans when they hear it is take us back to the 80s and the 90s. It takes us back to the crack epidemic. It takes us back to people dying in streets with needles in their arms. It takes us back to extreme poverty. It takes us back to those movies that were perpetuated for so long that showcase Black families being broken up by crack and crack babies. And all of those things that have been proven to not only be falsified information in many cases as it relates to the expansion of the crack epidemic, but also a push to diminish Black people and Black bodies. What we know in these harm reduction strategies is that largely they have honestly been pushed towards white communities as it relates to the opioid crisis, as it relates to those individuals who needed more methadone clinics and things like that, as it relates to trying to build towards a more healthy community for populations that they never criminalized drug abuse for. So we have to be very serious in how we talk about this, because the frustration that all of us should have is that Tucker Carlson talked about it last night and called it basically Biden putting crack pipes in the hands of Black America. Problematic, also conversely very untrue. But what is more angering is that places like Bossip, places like Black Enterprise,
Hmm.
places like the Breakfast Club, places across that Black people actually look towards for their media, actually picked up and propagated this very hateful rhetoric towards Black people. And now, I have a lot of educated Black friends who were texting me just this morning asking about why Joe Biden was putting crack pipes in the hands of the Black community. These people should know better. But misinformation travels faster than the truth. And I think that we have to do a very good job of distilling and being honest about what's actually at play here, why Republicans are playing this dangerous game, and why African Americans happen to be the target 9 times out of 10.
Well, Ameshia, you mentioned an important thing there, which is that these same harm reduction strategies are also used in places like Boston to benefit drug users who are white. The problem suddenly came up when it was something that was going to be specifically benefiting or used and targeted for Black and brown communities. It's a grant, right? Federal money going to underserved populations is what got the right-wing attention. So what is then the solution, right? Because this got to the point in less than 24 hours where a anodyne grant, technical grant announcement had to be addressed at a White House podium.
Absolutely, because millions of people shared misinformation. To delve down even further, Republicans have always supported harm reduction strategies because largely they went to their states and their populations. We have Senator Cotton out of Arkansas, huge supporter of it. He's gotten money from it. We have Senator Blackburn, a very staunch conservative out of Tennessee. She supported it. She's gotten money out of it. We have senators across the country who have benefited off of this, from South Carolina on down, and you don't hear any type of rhetoric around it when their populations that are largely white are benefiting. But because the Biden administration noticed first and foremost how this allocation was happening, that African Americans were largely, and minorities in general, were largely not receiving the types of supports they needed when it came to drug abuse and addiction services, they are now being demonized by a program that needed this level of funding. It's needed it for a while now, by the same legislators who champion it in their own communities. We should really call this out. We should really call out the Black purveyors of social media who also pass along this misinformation. We're absolutely fine with it. But we should also look towards media to do better. Because I was quite frankly shocked that it wasn't only blog posts of, your random idiot X. It was also legitimate sources that decided they were going to jump on this story. It took a minute for there to be a recalibration, to the point where you had Washington officials, where you had White House officials have to speak to an insidious lie. Where has America gone where we move to the point where you've got to address a president who is giving out crack pipes? That's not a thing. We've had a lot of crazy things happen in America over the past 4 or 5 years. One of the things that will never happen is a president giving crack pipes to anybody.
Well, here's what I was telling people earlier, which is that when you see a clickbait headline like that, regardless of the media outlet, go directly to the source. That grant announcement is on the HHH website. It is very easy to access. It is not necessarily easy to understand the technical details, but it tells you what it's about. Effectively, it's about making sure that fewer people end up in prison or dead because of drug use. And I think that's something we can all agree on, that harm reduction is a good thing. BNC political contributor Ameshia Cross, thanks for joining us tonight.